Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Revolutionize the Stage podcast presented to you by VenewLive. I'm Emily Heidel, and this will be the last time we are coming to you from VenewLive. There are changes happening, and change is inevitable in this universe, so that's fine. And change is good, and this change is not bad. It's just changes. They are changes. So anyway, just wanted to come to you on this last episode because this podcast will continue, maybe in a different flavor, but there will be a break taken. So this episode is to give you an idea of what's to expect in the future. And to be quite honest, it might change a little bit the content of what it will be about. I just want to talk about what this podcast has meant to me, and hopefully for the few listeners that have been there, what it's meant to you guys. And I will take a suggestion from one of the most avid and active listeners that we have. Her name is Giovanna. She is in Brazil, and she's given a lot of recommendations and just to me, and she's recommended the podcast to a lot of people, and she's just amazing. I love her DMs we send back and forth. And I did ask her, I was like, this podcast for now is taking a break. Do you have any last sort of like ideas that you would want to hear in the podcast? And she was like, for one, she was like, someone should come and interview you, as in me. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know about that. But then she was like, or you could kind of wrap up, or not wrap up, but just give highlights of each guest, or each guest that's been on the podcast and kind of what you liked about having them on. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. It kind of wraps it up if you were not able to listen to some of those episodes, and maybe this will be a highlight to make you go listen to them. I don't know. But looking at it now, we have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, around about 22 different people on this podcast, and I am so very just pleased that a lot of them are my friends, and a lot of them took time out of their day to either come to this office or schedule a Zoom call and do an interview, sometimes from an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then following that, of course, we would talk for another hour. One of them, we literally talked for 8 hours, like from the time they arrived at the office till the time they left. It was a total of 8 hours. Most of it, of course, was off camera, but I don't know, just thinking about those times makes me very happy and pleased. Winnie and Jamie, Winnie Galbadores, I'm just going to go quickly. So Winnie Galbad, also, I'm sorry if my voice is shaking. It is freezing in this office right now. Like, my hands are so cold. It is freezing in this office. And the studio I'm in does not have a heater. So, yes. All right. Anyway, so Winnie Galbadores and Jamie Bellotti, they gave sort of like a fan to professional perspective at the time. Winnie was working for KCON. She's now working for Webtoons. And Jamie, at the time, she was fully dedicated to fan to band, which is literally bringing fans to managers and making them integrated into the artist's sort of initiatives. She is now moved on to, she's now officially a part of FanMade, which is the parent company to Fan to Band. And she's working alongside Olivia Rudensky and Claudia Villarreal, who was one of our guests. And they are you just go check them out. I'm just going to say that. Okay, there's a lot they do. But they do also have merch that I did order, sweatshirt. It says FanMade on it. Miley Cyrus did endorse it, so that's cool. Not me. She endorsed the sweatshirt. That did sell out. So go check it out. They talked about becoming or being a fan and then utilizing that fan knowledge to be a professional in the music industry. Okay, next we had Faux Squad. Faux Squad were they were in Seoul for about a month or so, and they came and they talked about their YouTube channel and reacting, and they did try some very spicy ramen, and it was very funny. So that was a great episode. I loved listening to them. They have a very interesting perspective on life that I just love listening to as well. We had Danny and David from DKDK TV. They came in, they talked more on like the statistics of like, and also diversifying your YouTube channel as a creator and things like that. So it was fun to have them on. Of course, their dynamic is always very funny. And then we had Ronnie Icon on. He's a songwriter. He talked about remotely working as a songwriter, mainly with a lot of K-pop and J-pop groups. Since then, he's had so many credits, one of them being Tomorrow By Together, another one being The Boys, just a lot. Go check out Ronnie. And Enervate Music. They're just amazing groups of people. We had Claudia Villarreal. She used to work with Pretty Much and Boys World, and now she's left Kin Entertainment, and like I said, is working with Jamie Bellotti and Olivia Rudinsky at Fanmade, and they have a lot of really cool things. What I liked about her was that she is so passionate about like the internet and things like that. Like she did mention she has a Wi-Fi tattooed on her. I think it's of the different blues for like blue for Facebook, blue for Twitter, blue for some Tumblr, I believe. Anyway, Koala, he works within Bobblehead Music, a sort of publishing label out here in Korea. He's always a good time. This man knows the world, literally. So he's a good person to know, and he's just a good time. And he gave some insights on how he first met Jessie, too. Then we had Connie Wu of Wooing Jewelry. Here we go, Wooing. All three of these. Connie did give me the middle one, and I bought the other two. She has since, BTS, almost all of BTS has worn her jewelry. A lot of different other idols have worn her jewelry, and it's just amazing to see what she's doing and how she's continuing to grow her business. And she's such a cool, I guess I could call her Annie, like really cool person who is so real and just fun to be around. So Connie, I love her. Then I had Roy back. Roy and I, we of course met through Usung's music video. Or no, we through a couple of different things for Usung or Sammy from The Rose. And we've since become very close friends, and interestingly have had a lot of fun times together. But he's so creative in everything he does, and one of a kind in terms of his creativity. And I just love his work from styling to creative directing, art directing, and things like that. So Fred Coates, he's someone who has been a mentor of mine for the past now 4 years. My goodness. Out in LA. Of course, he does a lot of work with Juicy J and a lot of people in the rap hip hop world, and that kind of thing. So I was really honored to be able to actually just interview him because he has a lot of little interesting tidbits and he's very straight to the point. Then we had Jang. This is our first artist to come on the podcast. He actually reached out, and he's an indie artist here in Seoul. So he gave us an idea of what it was like to create his own independent album, and then of course what the indie scene is sort of like in Korea, but we'll get into more of what the indie scene was about in a second. We also had Alexis Odojan and Tasia Assis, both journalists in the music realm, but Tasia and Alexis have definitely focused on the K-pop side of things. And Alexis now works for Remezcla, which is Remezcla, which is in Latin sort of outlet. I liked their candor during the interview. Then there was Paul Jong. He works in the fashion world, fashion PR, most notably working with BM of Card. Interesting little fun fact. BM just did stop by the office like right after that interview, unexpectedly so. So shout out BM. He's always very nice whenever I see him. Who else? What else? And then Paul also has gotten to know me a little bit. We had a good brunch together in December with Hee-Jae, who was on the first episode of this podcast. Yes, she was. And then we had DJ Fenner, the British DJ. He came on to talk EDM stuff. and he was an amazing guest. Oh my gosh, there are people coming through the office because we're selling the office, and so they're coming and taking pictures and stuff. And I'm like, hello. What else? Anthony King, the amazing filmographer, and dancer and voice actor here in Korea. I've become very close with him and his girlfriend Joy, who is literally drawing me now as one of the DUNE characters, the Fremen, one of the Fremen. She's drawing that for me. She's incredibly talented in her drawings, and both of them were just a very creatively driven couple. Then we had Danny Kim of DKDK TV. He came back because I cut this part of the podcast, he apparently drunkenly reached out to me to be a guest on the podcast. And then when he realized I was serious about it, he was like, oh, crap. He didn't realize I was actually going to follow up on it, because I did follow up like 2 times. Anyway, so he came on the podcast. I did cut that part out because if I had kept it in, I've had Danny as a guest on a couple of my other podcasts, and people have always commented like, Danny's very savage. And I'm like, I'm used to it, but a lot of people who are not used to his sort of humor, like, it's a little cutthroat and very crass. And so a lot of people are like, why didn't you just like he's being so rude? And I'm like, yeah, but like, I don't know. Sometimes I think it's funny. So anyway, that was Danny. That actually got the most listens out of any of our, like, Hansungu, who we had on our On VenewLive podcast, the only On VenewLive podcast we had. Thank you to Hansungu and Play M for taking the time out to answer our questions. But Danny's interview is either the most watched now or the second most watched behind Hansungu. So thank you, Danny, for your ducks. Thank you guys for listening and commenting. And then finally, we had Jenny Jha, who is my boss for my freelance job. And again, I think a lot of these people who have come on the podcast, like, yeah, they don't have even more than like 500 followers or more than 1,000 followers on one platform, or like Jenny has like 7,000 on Twitter, but like they don't have that many followers. But what they do have is a lot of insights to a lot of these people who are followed. This podcast isn't necessarily meant to get everybody and their mom to listen to it. I've realized at first that was kind of the goal, but I do appreciate the few people who are from other podcasts, K-pop podcasts specifically, or interested in this music industry, who have taken the time out to listen. I'm always just loving that. And yeah, so start. Hello, and welcome back to the second part of this last episode. I did not intend to film a second part, but I wasn't really pleased with the part I filmed yesterday that I put all this makeup and effort and time into. My hair is still curled. TBH, it's nice and curled, and I'm liking it. I'm actually very surprised that it stayed this curled. Shout out to Deccan Tai in Cheongdam / Apgujeong, Jeremy and Hyunji Shi, Hyunji Shi, Hyunji Neep. Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway, they made sure she stayed curled. Normally my hair does not stay curled this long, but here we are. This will be the third iteration of this that I have filmed. So here I am doing it a third time. And I just figured hopefully this is the last time, because this episode has to go out tonight. It doesn't have to, but I want to try to keep a schedule on this. So I figured, you know what, might as well just come to you naturally. Also, I'm getting a little bit distracted because the viewfinder is like right next to the lens, so I'm looking at it. But yeah, I'm wearing a mask because I'm not wearing makeup today, and I don't have all these lashes on. And I figured backwards cap is like, cool girl. I'm kidding. Emily, shut up. Anyway, so yeah, maybe I guess I'll end it. Like I said, the next part of this podcast might, the topics might be a little bit different, or just, a little bit different than what they were before. Of course, before they were very entertainment industry focused, really Korea entertainment industry focused, music specifically. And we did have, before all this stuff went down, a lot of guests planned to come here. I'll just put some Well, I won't say it quite yet because there's still going to be a guest, so I don't want to spoil it so far. But there were, I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8 different people that were going to come on and talk about things. So they'll still come on at some point, just not right now. I thought, and maybe I'll share what I'll be doing the next 2 months. Actually, as of yesterday, after filming the first part of this, when I was all done up, I got a call, and let's just say that my plans were kind of like, I had a general idea of what I was going to do, be this digital nomad type thing. But then it really turned into that. So I'll just share what I'm doing the next 2 months, and I'll explain more into it. So I'm going back to the States in less than a week. Going back to my hometown, Atlanta. And I'll be going to Miami, then New Orleans, then LA, then the British Virgin Islands, then Houston, then back to Atlanta. Well, I'll be in Atlanta in between then, actually. I'll also be going to Chicago as well. Most of those are for pleasure. LA is more for work, but I'll definitely be hitting up some of my LA friends while I'm there. And actually, the last guest that was a guest on the podcast, Jenny, she's my boss for my freelance job, and so I'll be working more with her on some projects, and so that's kind of the reason I'm going out to LA. But there's a lot of really cool things that is happening with Infinitize in the next couple of months, so keep an eye out for that. Yes. I think the content that I said, the reason why it might be different is that maybe I want to talk about my personal life just a bit. And the reason I say that is because the first podcast I did back in 2017 with my best friend, Kyra, her birthday is on Valentine's Day, the day I get back to the States. And we started this podcast in November 2017. And it was like pop culture, sports, and girl talk. So of course that mixed in some of our kind of personal lives, a lot of love life in there. And at the time we were on dating apps and such, and we didn't want to give too much away of like names and things like that. I remember now one dude that now let's preface this. I haven't had a boyfriend in 11 years. 2011. High school, sophomore year of high school. I am 26 years old now. So it's been a while. So when I say dated, I mean literally someone that I talked to for a month. Granted, I am talking to someone right now, and I just need all the prayers in the world. Will I keep that part in? I don't know, because this person has said they watch my podcast, and I'm a little wary of what I say now. Anyway, meaning I need all the prayers in the world because I do like this person. The person knows that. And I'm not trying to self-sabotage. So, yeah. Continuing on from that, like I said, the podcast I did back in 2017, there was this dude I talked to for a month. And I was like, I still kind of had a crush on him, just a bit, but we'd ended things. But I was like, hey, do you want to come on my podcast? And he was like, maybe. And I was like, oh, we could just talk about our experience. I thought it'd be a very candid, interesting thing. Anyway, all of that is to say that oh shoot, I swear if this stopped recording. Oh, okay. I thought this stopped recording. All that's to say that podcast, now granted at the time, me and my best friend Kyra, we don't, and I still I don't really have of course, I don't even have 10K. I don't have 5,000 followers. It doesn't really, but especially at the time, I did not have anybody following me. But compared to the other podcasts I've done since then that have had many guests or co-hosts that have had in the millions of subscribers or followers or fans and all that stuff, the Fallout with E and K podcast between me and my best friend was the most consistently listened to podcast that I've done or produced or whatever. Meaning even though we had maybe 300 listeners an episode, it was always 300. You can still go look back at the SoundCloud. We have it up still. I will tell you the sound quality was not that good, but the reason why I think we had such consistent numbers was because, one, we were, for the most part, real. There were some times when I just wasn't in the mood to talk, and I was just moody. I am a moody person. We just weren't in the mood to talk. Or no, yeah. Anyway, because we had a good chemistry and we were real, and people like controversy. And there's a book, I don't have it next to me, it's at my desk, but it's called Contagious, and it talks about what makes things popular, basically. Anyway, so one of the things it says in there is like, you have to, first of all, make people feel like insiders. You have to have some sort of like game mechanics to it, which is like you have to, anyway. And then the other thing is that you have to, and this is to build social currency. Another thing is you have to have some sort of controversy, mystery, or breaking the pattern that's already expected. And I mean, at the time, and still, I'm trying to be very professional in everything I do, but it's nice to have fun, and so maybe, I'll have a friend on or two, drink some wine. Maybe I'll have a special friend on and drink some wine or beer. Oh my goodness. Am I really going to post this? What if this person is watching this? I have no idea. Anyway, so yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm going to do. And I hope you're interested. Maybe there's some different perspectives available for the different people that will be guests. Or maybe it's just pure entertainment. So sorry. Like I said, they're selling the office and all these people are coming through and like taking pictures and stuff. And every time I see someone new, I'm like, oh, who is it? And then I don't recognize the person. Anyway, I'm going to actually end this now. But I hope that by the time I come back with this podcast, there will be unstressed. We'll all, as listeners and the host, whatever, will be unstressed and we'll be living our best lives. And I hope you have a lovely, unstressful, easy time through then. And of course, after this podcast comes back. But you deserve all of the happiness and rest. And I hope that we can all get that. And thank you again for listening so far. It hasn't even been a year. It feels like it's been a year, but it hasn't even been a year. It's been 8 months, almost 8 months. So I appreciate your support up to now. If you have any ideas, let me know. Maybe I will get somebody to come interview me, but they have to be really good. I'm kidding. No, but really, they have to be good. I'm still in love with you, boy. I'm like wondering, they're coming around and they're taking pictures, and I'm like, are they gonna come take a picture of me in this, or they have to take pictures of the studio? I don't know. Anything else I want to share? Fear is the mind. Hold on. There's a quote from DUNE. I want you guys to just hear. I need myself to hear this. I'm telling myself this too, okay? Hold on. Okay, this is the quote. It's from the Litany Against Fear. This is from the Bene Gesserit, the witch sort of house in fear. They have this thing called, it's a litany against fear, spoken by many highly educated people who face danger or fear during their everyday lives. The litany helped focus their mind in times of peril. Oof. Wow, I didn't know that. It actually derives from William Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. A coward dies 1,000 times before his death. Whew. Don't talk to my anxiety like that. But the valiant taste of death but once. It seems to me most strange that men should fear, seeing that death, a necessary end, will come when it will come. Interesting. Okay. An ancient form of the litany existed already in the Butlerian Jihad. The Butlerian Jihad is it was sort of like an uprising in DUNE that is how do I describe it? It was like getting rid of like machine-made machines that could mimic people, like AI pretty much, which is interesting. Like that's kind of, I don't know. Dune is amazing. It's amazing. A lot of people say it's like a really hard book to read and get through. I agree if you haven't seen the movie 7 times, which I have. I have it. I bought it in Atlanta and I bought it in Korea. And I've seen it. I've made a lot of other people watch it. Some didn't really feel it. Some said it was a good napping movie. Okay. And then some people, I had to like pause it and talk them through it. And they were like, wow, this is a great movie. And it's very cinematography is good in that movie. The director is known for that. He's known for shooting, I think, Blade Runner or something. Anyway, either way, if you have seen the movie 7 times, like myself, then when you read the book, you're like able to, it's like, it makes sense. However, the book still has a lot of shit in it that, luckily, if you buy the book now, there is a glossary at the back. There's a glossary of different terms. This is why it's a really good world building movie, is because, series, is because the dude literally is like building this world. And I'm just like, how did he come up with all this? Like, he literally, like, it's crazy. Like, anyway, it makes sense why Star Wars was like mimicked off of it, imitated from it, sort of. But also they give a glossary of like a lot of the character. I don't know. It's just very, 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 very well developed. And anyway, so the Butlerian Jihad is a term that's in the glossary that I had to look up in the back. But I just love reading through it now that I know. And when you know it now, like, it's not a hard read, as people like to say. Dune enthusiasts. Anyway, I don't know. I saw a TikTok the other day about someone, like, someone was like, oh, I don't know why you'll say, like, it takes, you can't get through Dune. Like, I'm already, like, almost halfway through the book in 45 minutes. And people are like, oh, of course, like, Dune people, the only people that make people not want to read Dune because they're so, like, uppity and, like, snooty and arrogant about it. Anyway, all right. Long story short, let me get back to this. The version of the litany used in the time of Paul Muad'Dib, Paul Atreides from the movie, a.k.a. Timothy Chalamet, was believed to have originated within the Bene Gesserit, yes, who themselves faced great dangers during their extensive training. True. Here we go. The litany was as follows, and I'm going to leave you with this after my long sort of explanation. If you have seen the movie Dune, this part in the movie, now this is really hard. I saw the movie like I said, like 7 times, right? And the first few times, first of all, I was like, this movie is loud. Like, sometimes I can't hear it. And I saw it in Korea twice for the first 2 times. And so there are subtitles in Korean. But of course, a lot of the stuff I couldn't understand. I could read it, but I couldn't understand, of course, what it was saying. So, and then I finally saw it with subtitles in English, maybe like the 4th or 5th time. And then I realized what was happening. But this part in the movie where this litany is read is when Paul, if you've seen the movie, Paul sticks his hand in that metal box, and that woman, that witch sort of woman, is like, there's pain in the box, and then she has that little like sticker, like needle thing that can kill him in a second. And during this, he has the pain is like inflicting him, right? But you see like clips going back and forth to the mother, Jessica, and the mother is like whispering something, and it was really loud at this point. It was super loud, and so you can't really understand what she is saying. Unless you have subtitles. On top of that, there are other parts of the movie that I didn't even know something was being said, and there are subtitles. So I suggest if you see the movie, watch the movie with subtitles and watch it with someone who understands Dune. Me. Okay, here we go. Here goes the litany. Because at the moment, he has his hand, this box full of like pain, just absolute insane pain. So his mother is saying this litany. It goes, I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will return. Oh, Shiva. Let me go back. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing Only I will remain. Take that with you, because it is true. Fear is a feeling, not a fact. I'm telling myself this, okay? It'll be all right, everybody. It'll be all right for all of us. I'll see you when the podcast comes back. Thanks so much. Bye. Bye. Adios. 안녕히 계세요. Arrivederci. Auf Wiedersehen. Toodaloo.